dispraising Allah. And they were also making Allah to be with the Allah like the creation. As we'll talk about in a minute, inshallah. How they resemble Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the creation in this regard. Before we get into the details of it, I'm going to just reiterate a little bit what we discussed last class. What did we say last class, everyone? We talked about, number one, that there are the different types of shafa'at, which we're going to go over. Matter of fact, I don't want to go over that right now. But what we talked about last class, the first category was what, everyone? What did we say last class? We talked about there's a type of shafa'ah that's between what? Between the creation. Just between the creation. It has nothing to do with him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Between the creation. We said that is the shafa'ah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in his book, in the ayah. Where he says, وَمَن يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً حَسَنَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ نَصِيبٌ مِنْهَا وَمَن يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً سَيِّئَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ كِفْلٌ مِنْهَا. And we talked about how the shafa'ah that takes place just between the creation and its origin is permissible and has nothing to do with worship. Rather, it has to do with aiding someone in a particular matter or someone that's facing some type of difficulty or endeavor in which he wants to either attain some type of benefit or have something of a harm removed, as far as in different dealings in the creation, nothing to do with worship. Like, for example, as we talked about and discussed, we said that, for example, what did we say? We said such, for example, a person wants a job or he needs some help or he's facing some type of difficulty in his life and he goes to an individual and a person of status or a person that has the ability to relieve him of that difficulty. So the person of status will say to them, I don't know you. How can I trust you? How can I believe you? Who are you? I don't know you. How do I know you're speaking the truth? How do I know you're not just trying to take advantage? So someone of a middleman will what? Come in order what? Intercede with the person who's in need. I know him. I can vouch for him. I've known him for years. And likewise, we know that who's the one who's interceding, the shafi', has some type of influence or has some type of status with the one of that particular status. They have some type of relationship or rapport. So he will ask him, so he will aid the one who's in need by telling the person of status, this person I know, and that he's truly a person that is facing some endeavors in his life and he needs some relief. So the one who has the status will accept his shafa'ah. He will accept his what? His intercession. And he will aid that person. Or what have you. That type of shafa'ah between the creation is what? Is permissible. We said the origin of it, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, Ishfa'u tu'jaru. He says, intercede, you will be rewarded. Meaning if it's a shafa'ah that is what? Permissible. In the boundaries of Islam. And we have also the shafa'ah between the creations. We said last class, what everyone? We said the type of shafa'ah that is what? Evil. Where it's utilized in an evil manner. Where someone tries to attain something that's unlawful, or, for example, removing the penalty from someone that deserves to be what? Penalized, or he deserves to be reprimanded or receive some type of what? Punishment. As we talked about the hadith of what happened with the woman who's the Makhzumiyah, the woman who stole, who used to steal property or steal certain belongings from people, and then when they wanted to get it back from her, she would she would disown it and say, I don't know what you're talking about, basically. But basically, she would reject and say, I don't know what you're talking about. She would deny it. I never took anything from you in the first place. But she what? In actuality, she did. So it was reported back to the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu and her family did not want the penalty established upon her. So they used someone as a middleman who was close to the Messenger of Allah. So the Messenger of Allah will what? Accept his intercession. That was who? Usama. Radiallahu an, until when he came to the Messenger of Allah, as we said in the last narration, the Messenger of Allah became highly upset until he said in the narration, what everyone? Atashfa'u fi hadd min hududillah. Do you now try to intercede in a penalty from the penalties of Allah? So in order to remove from that individual, what everyone? the penalty. So it could be what? It could be removed, and as a result of it, that person who truly deserves it will now be what? Free. Rather, in contrast, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had highly emphasized that is the reasons of why the nations of the past were destroyed. As he said in the narration, he said, إِنَّمَا أَهْلَكَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ إِذَا صَدَقَ فِيهِمَ الشَّرِيفِ تَرَكُوهُ وَإِذَا صَدَقَ فِيهِمَ الضَّعِيفَ فَقَامُوا عَلَيْهِ الْحَدِّ وَيْمَ اللَّهِ لَوْ أَنَّ فَاطِمَةَ بِنْتَ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم صَدَقَتْ إيش لَقَطَعْتُ يَدَهَا. As it says in the narration, right, everyone? He says that which would destroy the people from the past. He says that if the one who's prominent or honorable or deemed as someone of high status stole, they will what? They will leave him alone. And those who are considered to be lowly, or a person who's weak, if he stole or she stole, they would establish the punishment upon them. He said, I swear by Allah, if Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, stole, I will what? Cut her hand off. So that type of shafa'ah, or that type of intercession, as we said last class, is what? Is impermissible. And also the other types of shafa'at, of something of pertaining to attaining something impermissible or unlawful. All those different types of shafa'at, all those different types of intercessions are all what? Are all impermissible, and it's not for one to involve himself in it or indulge in it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself said that you will have the portion of the sin. As it says in the ayah, وَمَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً سَيِّئَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ كِفْلٌ مِنْهَا. Whoever has, or who intercedes an evil intercession, then he will have the portion of its sin. This type of shafa'ah, as we talked about last class, is just the shafa'ah between what, everyone? The makhluq, between the creation, not the creator. As we in regards to between the creation and the creator, that's something different. That's pertaining to worship. That's not what we're speaking about here. Here, in the chapter, when the great Imam, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah, when he put it in the chapter, this was talking about the affair of worship. As Allah Ta'ala, as we know in his book, that Allah Ta'ala had mentioned in his book about the angels. You'll notice that everything is connected. The last chapter was speaking about the angels, right? The ayah that comes before this, the ayah, I'm going to tie everything together. But anyway, if you look in the ayah, I'm going to bring it. Allah Ta'ala cuts off polytheism from its root. For example, Allah Ta'ala says in his book, وَالَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ لَا يَمْلِكُونَ مِن قِطْمِيرٍ إِن تَدْعُوهُمْ لَا يَسْمَعُوا دُعَاءَهُ. That's the other ayah. I'll go back a little bit. Where it says in the book, he says, لَا يَمْلِكُونَ مِن قِطْمِيرٍ. He said, they do not own مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَلَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. That's the ayah. وَمَا لَهُمْ فِيهِمَا مِن شِرْكٍ وَمَا لَهُ مِنْهُ مِنْ ظَهِيرٍ وَلَا تَنْفَعُ الشَّفَاعَةُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا لِمَنْ أَذِنَ لَهُ حَتَّى إِذَا فُزِعَ عَنْ قُلُوبِهِمْ. It's talking about this ayah in our previous ayah in the chapter. حَتَّى إِذَا فُزِعَ عَنْ قُلُوبِهِمْ قَالُوا مَاذَا قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ قَالُوا الْحَقُّ وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْكَبِيرُ. That Allah Ta'ala says in his book, if you notice in the chapter, we was talking about the angels, right? It was discussing one ayah, right or not? It says, and until the horror was what? Is removed from who? The angels, the hearts of the angels. That's in the previous chapter, right? Type. There's an ayah in the same context of this one. If you look in the Mus'haf, that ayah which is talking about the angels, there's an ayah that comes before this ayah. And it's talking about four affairs. He says, those who you invoke besides Allah, they do not own anything of an atom's weight in the heavens and the earth. وَمَا لَهُمْ فِيهِمَا مِنْ شِرْكٍ وَمَا لَهُ مِنْهُ مِنْ ظَهِيرٍ وَلَا تَنْفَعُ الشَّفَاعَةُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا لِمَنْ أَذِنَ لَهُ حَتَّى إِذَا فُزِّعَ عَنْ قُلُوبِهِمْ قَالُوا مَاذَا قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ قَالَ الْحَقُّ وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْكَبِيرُ. It's talking about the angels, right, everyone? In the previous chapter. Now we're talking about the shafa'ah. The ayah right before this ayah, which is in the chapter, if you look in your books, is talking about the shafa'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that which you invoke besides him. They do not own anything in the heavens and the earth. They don't own anything. So Allah ta'ala is cutting off polytheism from its root. Number one, he's cutting off what? He's saying that which you invoke do not own anything in the heavens and the earth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala establishes for himself mulk. that He, Tabarak wa Ta'ala, owns everything in the heavens and the earth. So how can you now invoke or call on something that doesn't own anything in the heavens and the earth? لا يملكون مثقال ذرة في السماوات ولا في الأرض. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala negates الشراكة, that He shares in it anyone. Oh, that's good. I don't know why I said that. No, but my phone went off the other end and it still didn't reset. What was I saying? Now, the second affair is a shiraka, in regards that Allah shares in the what? Of anything in the heavens and the earth. وَمَا لَهُمْ فِيهِمَا مِنْ شِرْكٍ. So the second affair is what? Pertaining to negation of anyone owning with Allah anything in the heavens and the earth. وَمَا لَهُمْ مِنْهُ مِنْ ظَهِيرٍ. And Allah has no one that will aid him, or nor does he need help in anything in the heavens and the earth, as far as in what? Governing or administrating the affairs of what takes place in everyone's life and in the world and in this existence in general. Allah Ta'ala has no aid or helper. What's the last part of the ayah? After Allah established the three affairs, number one, that He's the only one that what? Owns of everything in the heavens and the earth. Everything. From our bodies, from our eyes, from our children, from our money to our property. Everything, Allah owns it. Allah only gives it to us to see what we're going to do with it. But in regards to us and our Lord, Allah owns everything. Everything in the heavens and the earth, with no exception. So Allah establishes that matter. And He destroys polytheism from its root by saying, number one, not which you invoke besides Him does not own anything in the heavens and the earth. And Allah has no one in the heavens and the earth that He shares it with. And He has no one in the heavens and earth that aids Him either. Then Allah ends the ayat off with what? That the shafa'ah or the intercession will not benefit except whom He what? Owns. Whom He gives permission for. Until the fright is taken away from the what? The angels. What did your Lord say? He said the haqq. And He's the most high and He's the most what? Kabir. So the ayah that we were talking about in the last chapter, if you look in your books, this is kind of like a what? Completing that ayah in this new chapter. Shafa'ah. Because the ayah comes right before that out, before this one. So the Imam has tied everything together. So right before he starts talking about the angels of this ayah, he talks about an ayah where lays down the shafa'ah. Meaning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah is negating what, everyone? That the shafa'ah, no one owns it in the heavens and the earth. So if you know that no one else owns it, why are you asking it from someone who doesn't own it? Ask it from the one who's in total ownership of it. Is it permissible right now if you raise your hands and said, "O Messenger of Allah, intercede for me on the day of resurrection"? If you said that supplication, is it permissible? I'm asking everyone a question. If you raise your hands and you was making sujood, and Muslims do this, that's because they're not talking about this. They raised their hands and said, "O Messenger of Allah, intercede for me on the day of resurrection." What is that? It's polytheism. It's shirk. If you raise your hands and said a dua, "O Messenger of Allah, intercede for me," polytheism. And that type of what? That type of supplication will nullify your Islam. That will take you out the fold of Islam, that dua. That will nullify your Islam. And if you die in that state, you'll be in hell forever. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? Is it clear what I'm saying? Type. What if I made dua and I said, "Oh Allah, make the message of Allah intercede for me. Oh Allah, I'm asking you for the intercession of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Permissible or not permissible? I like to throw people off. Don't be fooled by the facial gestures. Is it permissible or is it not permissible? It's permissible. Why? Because ultimately you're asking from the one who what? Who owns it. You're asking Allah, ultimately. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So the shafa'ah is only sought from the one who owns it. That's it. No more, no less. And the one He doesn't share with anyone in it. And the one also He doesn't have anyone to aid Him in it. So Allah destroys shirk, polytheism, from its root in this ayah. Then Allah talks about the what? the shafa'ah. You found it? What you was looking for? طيب. So it's clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? طيب. So now the shafa'ah, like we talked about before, is only sought from the one who owns it. And you do not ask anyone except Allah for the shafa'ah. I don't care if he's لا ملك مقرب ولا نبي مرسل ولا صالح ولا طالح. That doesn't matter. You do not ask the shafa'ah from an angel, nor do you ask it from the prophets or the messengers or a righteous or one who's wretched. You don't ask the shafa'ah from anyone who Allah created. Only from the creator who is Allah himself. If you ask anyone for the shafa'ah other than Allah, then you have committed the most ultimate, most uglified, most humiliating, most filthy, most lowest, most greatest of oppression, which is polytheism. Why? As we talked about, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, because polytheism, you are resembling someone who's complete with someone who's incomplete. And that is the ultimate of what? That is the ultimate type of dispraise. That you would take someone complete and resemble him with something incomplete. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's why shirk is so uglified and vilified. Why? Because we talked about before, it is tashbih al-kamil bin naqis. It's resembling one who's complete in every aspect from the one who's in need and who's what? Who's incomplete in every aspect. That's the reason why polytheism is so what? Vilified. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. We talked about also in pertaining to the shafa'ah of the sects that also deviated in the aspect of the shafa'ah. We talked about there are 3 sects. What are the 3 sects, everyone? We talked about there are people who are too extreme as far as negating it. Number 1, we talked about firstly those who negate the shafa'ah is who? The Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. They say that the shafa'ah is all negated because they took the ayat in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in his book. You'll find there's certain ayat in the book of Allah where Allah negates the shafa'ah. He negates it. ما لهم من حميم ولا شفيع يطاع يعلم خائنة الأعين وما تخفي الصدور والله يقضي بالحق. As it says in the ayah. As Allah Ta'ala negates certain ayat, Allah negates the shafa'ah. You understand, everyone? There's ayats you'll find Allah negates the shafa'ah. And then you'll find an ayats where Allah affirms the shafa'ah. The Mu'tazila and the Khawarij looked at the nusus of the text with a blind eye. They only looked at the text that what? Negates the shafa'ah. Not only did they look at the text with the blind eye, they applied the ayats in the book of Allah to the wrong people. The shafa'ah that's being negated is for who? For the kuffar, for the mushrikeen. It's not negated for who? For the people of monotheism and tawheed. Those ayats, as Allah Ta'ala says in his book, as number 1, and one other ayah, as Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Muddathir, He says, فَمَا تَنْفَعُهُمْ شَفَاعَةُ الشَّافِعِينَ وَمَا لَهُمْ عَنِ التَّذْكِرَةِ الْمُعْرِضِينَ كَأَنَّهُمْ حُمُرٌ مُسْتَنْفِرَةٌ فَرَّتْ مِنْ قَسْوَرَةٍ. To the end of the ayah, as Allah Ta'ala says in his book, He says that the shafa'ah, none of them, they will not benefit of the intercession of those who will intercede. They will not benefit from them. Who is it talking about? It's talking about the kuffar. However, the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila take the ayats that apply to the kuffar and they apply them to who, everyone? To the Muslims, to the mu'mineen. That's where they messed up. Those ayats that were talking about the kuffar. Because we know, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that on the day of resurrection, the shafa'ah will not be accepted in regard from 2 people. Or 2 affairs, excuse me. Don't write this down yet. For number 1, of course, the only one who will intercede, number 1, of course, have to be for the people of monotheism. The one who intercede. So Allah can accept it from him. Allah will only accept the shafa'ah from the people of tawheed. That's it, no more, no less. And also likewise, those who the shafa'ah can be accepted for also have to be the people of tawheed. It cannot be the people of kufr. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? The people of kufr, or the people who die in the state of disbelief and in the state of shirk, those the shafa'ah will not be accepted from. And it will not be what? It will not benefit whatsoever. So the ayat is talking about who, everyone? The kuffar. Not the what? Not the Muslimin or the mu'mineen. Or the people of Tawheed. So the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila, you'll find that one of the secrets of why they fell into the misguidance they fell into is because they took the ayat that were revealed as it pertains to the kuffar, and they all took it and pointed it towards the what? The Muslims. Is it clear what I'm saying? You'll find that in a lot of ayats in the Book of Allah. That's the reason why they fell into what? Negating it. The Shafa'ah. And as we know, likewise, the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila, they've negated it. Of course, they also called the Wa'idiyya. I don't want to talk about that right now. But anyway, the second group that also on the opposite side of the fence, the opposite side of the extreme, are those who affirm the Shafa'ah, but however they now go to the point where they now fall into polytheism. Who are, number one, is the mushrikeen, the polytheists. And also from some of the Muslims who are grave worshippers of these days. They fell into polytheism in regards to what? Affirming the Shafa'ah. So they took the Shafa'ah and they utilized it as a way of falling into something else disgraceful. Which is what? Polytheism, where they directed the Shafa'ah asking from those idols or asking from those who are righteous or asking from one who does not own it at all, until they fell into polytheism. And that is not only just for the polytheists of the time of old. That's even from some of the Muslims of these days, especially those who are practicing the method of Sufiya, who are deeply engrossed, and especially from those who are from the Ghulat Sufiya, from those extremists that are into Tasawwuf, they fall into this aspect of shirk in regards to the Shafa'ah. A lot of the grave worshippers. You'll find that they ask the Shafa'ah from someone else other than Allah. So that's even with some of the Muslims. So don't think now this is an affair that's only tied in with something that happened of old. No. This also happens to a lot of Muslims these days. You'll find that they make dua asking people who have died from the righteous and other than the righteous and asking them for the Shafa'ah. Crying and raising their hands and rubbing dirt and going to the graves and saying to them, intercede for me, so-and-so. Hear my call. Please intercede for me on the day of resurrection. Get me across the hellfire on the day of resurrection. This is the polytheism that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ warned against. Not only the Messenger of Allah himself warned against. So these affairs are not just tied in with affairs that took place with the mushrikeen. It's also talking about some of the Muslims of these days that fall into it. Exactly. So don't think that it's something that's over or that's just old. No, it's talking about these days too. For the Muslims that fall into this affair. From those who deviated in the aspect of the Shafa'ah. The third group that we talked about last class was who, everyone? Ahlul Sunnah, who are in the middle. Where you will find that the ayats apply exactly how they understand it. So when Allah affirms the Shafa'ah, so Allah Ta'ala affirms ayats, as we know ayat al-Kursi. What does Allah Ta'ala say in his book? مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما هو العلي العظيم. Right, everyone? Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, من ذا الذي يشفع عنده. Who's the one that can intercede? Here in this ayat, Allah is affirming it. So another ayat, you have Allah is what? Negating it. You have other ayats where Allah what? It's affirming it. Ahlul Sunnah, you can see why their belief is intact. Why? Because everything is harmonized. Everything is put in its proper place. Because those ayahs are talking about, that's affirmed for the Shafa'ah, it's talking about who? It's talking about the people of Tawheed. Because they will have a Shafa'ah. And that which is negating the Shafa'ah is talking about the people of what? Kufr and Shirk. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? Jayyid. Tayyib. So now, what is the asad dalala? So why now, of all these different people have fell into what they fell into of being misguided in this affair of the Shafa'ah? Why? Why? Because now they fell into tashbih. They fell into resemblance. We said that Ibn al-Qayyim breaks down tashbih into two types of resemblance. What's the resemblance? You have tashbih al-khaliq bil-makhluq with tashbih al-makhluq bil-khaliq. Is there a difference? You have resembling Allah with the creation and resembling the creation with Allah. Is there a difference? Huh? Resembling Allah with the creation. Ibn al-Qayyim breaks tashbih down to two types. Resemblance, that's tashbih al-khaliq bil-makhluq. With tashbih al-makhluq bil-khaliq. What are we talking about here? Who wants to try? Tafadal ya Jamar. Let me hear his answer. Jade. So far, so good. No. Say what's the first one again? What was the first one? You just said the first one right. You said it on point. Resembling Allah with the creation. Huh. On point. Resembling the creation with Allah. Tafadal. Let me make it easy. One type of tashbih is polytheism. And one type of tashbih is what the people of deviation fall into, resembling in the category of asma wa sifat. No, I'm not giving examples. Let me sum this up so we can save time. The type of shirk, polytheism in its origin, polytheism, idolatry, is a form of resemblance. It's tashbih. It's a form of resemblance. Is it resembling the creation with the creator or resembling the creator with the creation? Which one? Resemble the creator with the creation or the creation with the creator? Which one? There's a difference. Ibn al-Qayyim makes a distinction. Which one is it? Resembling Allah with the creation? So it's tashbih al-makhluq bil-khaliq. Jayyid. Resembling the creation with the creator is shirk. That's right. And resembling the creator with the creation is deviance in the third category, Tawheed, which is al-asma wa sifat. So those are two types of resemblance. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? So tashbih or resemblance is of two types. One is shirk, one is polytheism, and one other is what? Deviation in the third category of Tawheed, which is what? Al-ilhad fil asma wa sifat. Deviation in the category of monotheism, which is the names and the attributes of Allah. That's also like a form of tashbih, of resemblance. Is it clear? Resembling Allah with the creation, is that shirk, everyone? Or resembling the creation with Allah? Resembling the creation with Allah is shirk. Resembling the creation with Allah is shirk. And resembling Allah with the creation is deviation in the aspect of al-asma wa sifat. Deviation. All of them are a form of what? Tashbih, resemblance, ultimately. How is this connected to what we're speaking about now, the shafa'ah? Now listen. Why do you think that the people now deviated in this aspect? Why? So I started off with saying it's a form of tashbih. Why? Why, everyone? What is the reason or the purpose of why the creation utilized the shafa'ah? Number one, if you go back to the heads, for example, do you notice that kings or leaders, they need shufa'ah. They need what? They need what? They need intercessors, delegates, helpers, aiders, what? To help them govern and run their kingdom. Right or wrong? Why? Because of some deficiency in their knowledge, deficiency in what's going on with their ra'iyah, with those who they're running. So they need people to come to them and deliver information to them because they don't have full awareness to what's going on. Right or wrong? They have delegates, they have helpers, they have intercessors, they have wuzara, they have ministers. All these is to help him, aid him in, first of all, he needs them. They aid him so it can help him govern and help take care of his kingdom. So they took Allah and made Allah like the creation. So now they want to utilize, so they think now, either we know that kings or people of high status, they need shufa'a, number one, either because of ignorance that they have and their knowledge is incomplete. That's number one. Number two, what is another reason why, everyone? Think. They lack an ability. That's good. Lack an ability of how though? How though, Jamar? Jayed. Their lack of knowledge and their lack of ability. No doubt. Excellent. They can't be all at once and they to know what everything is going on simultaneously. Lack of ability. Incompleteness still. What's another reason? Awareness. Good. Another reason is because you'll find, like we said, also likewise, even the shafa'ah, some of them can even influence, have some type of influence on the king. They can influence him. They can speak to him, decorate their speech, be influenced, accept it. Right or wrong? Be persuaded. He can be influenced. Someone come with some nice embellished speech, I accept it. I could be emotionally, I could be swayed, or my feelings could be what? It could be manipulated. Another reason. There's another reason that maybe perhaps the shufa'ah can even take him over. And they can even intercede without his permission. They can bogart, or we say Brody, right? They can Brody, for lack of a better word. Or they can now strong arm and now intercede without any permission. Is all these affairs impossible as it pertains to Allah? All these affairs are negated. Right or wrong? All what we just mentioned are all negated. However, those who did the shafa'ah, this is their reason why they fell into shirk as far as in this aspect of intercession. Why? Because they resemble Allah with the what? The creation. See, is it clear so far what I'm saying? Cade, even though I don't like to call you that. You understand? Jade, where's Caden? He's ducking? He's going to sleep in the bathroom. There's certain things we used to do back in the day, huh? I think he's slick. He went to sleep in the bathroom. That's stuff we used to do. Kids, you guys don't, there's nothing you guys do except we probably did it already, probably more slick and more better and more cunning with it. I think I don't know what you're doing. I went to the bathroom. I'm going to go to sleep right here. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So these are the reasons why you'll find that the shafa'ah, like we said, the shafa'ah, they fell into polytheism in this aspect because of these reasons. Number one is because you'll find that the king or those who have high status, their ilm has qusur. Their knowledge is incomplete. So they need ministers, they need delegates, they need all these people. I apologize. I retract it. I thought she was in the bathroom sleep. Thought I'd take it back. Because of their lack of knowledge. Their lack of knowledge, they're not them lacking full awareness, and they need. First, number one is the characteristic of what? Haja. We know Allah Ta'ala does not have the characteristic of what? Haja. Allah Ta'ala has the characteristic of ghina. Absolute self-sufficiency, full independency. Doesn't have the characteristic of need at all. That's mumtani'. That's impossible. Allah never has the characteristic of need. Allah is always self-sufficient. Is it clear what I'm saying? In contrast to a person who needs a shafa'ah from the creation, those people, they need it, like we said, due to their lack of knowledge. Their knowledge is weak. And also, likewise, like we said, lack of ability, because they cannot run their kingdom except by help. So that's lacking in qudra. So, was Allah ta'ala, we know Him subhanahu jalla fil ula is complete in His ability in all aspects. He does not have any aid, or does He have a need for help or assistance to run everything in this dunya or in this existence. You understand, everyone? Also, we said of also Allah ta'ala's full awareness of everything simultaneously at the same time. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's also another reason why these affairs are not applicable. Also, like we said, that the shafa' the shafi', the one who's interceding, can also persuade and have some type of influence on the one who has the power, the one who's the king. That's another reason why we said that this is impossible. This is not applicable for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can never, will never be what? Persuaded or influenced by anyone from the creation. Is it clear? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That is, and we say that is what? Absolute impossible. Allah ta'ala is never, ever persuaded or influenced or by anyone from He created ta'ala. But in contrast to the creation can be what? Persuaded, beguiled, influenced. His feelings could change, whatever. That's pertaining to the creation. Also, likewise, we said another reason is because of what? What did we say? You guys write this down. Oh, what did we say? They need permission. They need permission. And sometimes those who are shufa'ah, from those who are intercessors with the kings, they can strong arm the king. I'll make you accept it. And maybe perhaps if he don't, he won't have anybody to aid him, and they'll leave off his kingdom. If you don't accept it from us, we'll just we'll be out. We'll leave your kingdom when you won't have anyone to help you. Bye-bye. Is that affair is applied to Allah ta'ala? So these are the reasons why the mushrikeen, because of their bad thinking about Allah, and even some of the Muslims of these days fell into the exact same understanding, to the point where they thought their thinking and their belief is that as if Allah ta'ala is at this level where He needs certain things, like Allah doesn't have any awareness of certain things with people, or Allah ta'ala, He doesn't have full knowledge of what's taking place in certain people's lives. Allah ta'ala has full knowledge of every single thing. 50,000 years before He created the heavens and the earth, Allah ta'ala knew what you were going to go through in your life. He knew that what was going to happen to you, when you would be born, where you would be born, what color you would be, where you would be, what you would be going through in your life from beginning to end. Allah ta'ala has full awareness and knowledge of it. That is the aqeedah of the mu'min. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the reason why you'll find that the polytheists of old fell into and the Muslims of these days from the Sufiya, those who are from the extremists of the Sufiya, fell into this type of shirk. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's the reason. Why? Because initially it returned back to what? A form of tashbih, resemblance. You'll find that they say qasul al-khaliq bil makhluq, that they now took Allah and made Him resemble the creation. That's why they fell into shirk. Is it clear? So, tafadal. They didn't deny it altogether, the mushrikeen. They did not. No. The Khawarij and Mu'tazila is something different. But the mushrikeen, that was their thought about Allah, that Allah needs these type of people in order for something to be acceptable, or for something to be delivered to Allah. It's almost like how the Christians believe. This is exactly how the Christians believe. It's no different. They'll say that we need to go through the Son to get to the what? To the Father. We have to pray to the Son to get to the what? To the Father. As if they're saying by their belief system that Allah needs, like Allah just needs a middleman to get to Him because He's so great. Not realizing actuality, they are actually what? Demeaning and lowering Allah. You're resembling him with the creation, or he has some type of lack somewhere, or deficiency somewhere. It's as if Allah has no knowledge, or that Allah, in order for Allah to have knowledge of a certain affair, He needs someone to give it to him, to deliver it to him. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That is where they deviated. Allah Ta'ala does not have any mediators or intercessors in worship at all. The only middle man, that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah says, there is a type of mediator intercessor, but it's not in worship. It's in tabligh. It's in informing the wahi. That's it. They're the only people that's mediators and intercessors, but it's not in ibadah. It's only in tabligh, of informing about Allah. And that's the prophets and the messengers. Because that's a form of what? It's a form of a middleman. Because the middleman between us and Allah is who, everyone? The prophets and the messengers. Is it clear? That type of middleman is what the creation needs. Creation needs. Is it clear what I'm saying? The only type of middleman that is legislated is between us, the creation, and Allah, who are the prophets and the messengers, in informing the revelation. No more, no less. But as far as in the aspect of ibadah, then that there is no what? Mediator or intercessor between you and Allah, or between us and Allah at all. There isn't any. And the only shafa'ah is only sought from Allah, asking Allah to act or to give permission for someone from the creation to what? Intercede for one on the day of resurrection, from not entering hell, and all the different types of categories we're going to talk about. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? I'll say it again one more time. The only type of middleman between the creation and Allah is in tabligh al-wahi, and informing the revelation. The mediator between us and Allah and knowing about Allah is who, everyone? The prophets and the messengers. Is that in worship or not? It's not. Has nothing to do with worship. I mean, directly. But as far as we will know not to be Muslim, how to pray, how to fast, except that the prophets or that the Prophet ﷺ informed us, right or wrong? Other than that, how will we know what to do? Except that the messenger of Allah conveyed everything. That's a form of a middleman, right or wrong? Exactly. Is it clear what I'm saying? That type of middleman is mashru'. Rather, it's wajib that you accept it. Or else you wouldn't be Muslim. You understand what I'm saying? That type of tabligh is what? Or that type of informing of the revelation, that's only through the prophets and the messengers. That's what's legislated. As far as in regards to now, the middleman in worship, that you direct your worship to the middleman or the mediator or the intercessor, directing your worship because Allah doesn't know, or the law, you think in your mind Allah doesn't know, or Allah needs to have someone of high status to deliver it to him so Allah can accept it, or what have you. That's all polytheism, in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ negated, and Allah negated it in his book, and the Messenger of Allah warned from it. And that is the type of polytheism that the mushrikeen of old fell into, and likewise some of the Muslims who are involved in grave worshiping and are engrossed in the highest levels and the highest forms of Sufiya, where they grave worship and they direct their worship to the what? To the righteous, and from them you'll find them that is highly widespread amongst the Muslims is Abdul Qadir Jilani. You'll find that they call on him. And then only that, they even say that he conducts in this existence. That's even more strange. They say, Ya Abdul Qadir Jilani, الذي يتصرف في الأكوان هذا شرك أقبح من شرك القريش القدماء هذا أقبح منه وأشد منه. He says in the poetry, they say Ya Abdul Qadir Jilani, يا ذا من يتصرف في الأكوان. Oh, Abdul Qadir Jilani, the one who conducts in this existence. That type of polytheism is worse than the polytheism of the polytheists of the time of the Messenger of Allah. That's worse. هذا الشرك أقبح من كفر قريش أشد منه. لأن كفار قريش كان يعني معتقدهم في باب الربوبية سليم، وإنما انحرفوا في باب الألوهية دون الربوبية. ولكن هذا الكلام هذا يعتبر انحراف في باب الربوبية، فهذا أقبح وأشد والشر بكثير. And that's what you'll find that a lot of them that they're involved in call on Abdul Qadir Jilani, and they're here in America too. I know someone who's involved in that. Right now who calls on what? Abdul Qadir Jilani. They call on him. And he said the one who conducts in this existence. Those who have taught have known that this type of polytheism is worse than the polytheism of the Kuffar al-Quraysh. That's because that's shirk and rububiyyah. That's something unprecedented. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Clear so far? Gee. طيب. So now let's talk about the different types of shafa'at. Then we'll talk about the other ones. Wednesday. Oh, you have a question? Before we move on, anyone have any questions? هل من سؤال؟ Huh? Uh-huh. Oh, that's a shirk. It's something else. We could go on and on all day about the different types of polytheism, of deviation of the Catholics. The Catholics are like the Sufi of the Christians. They're considered like the Sufi of the Christians. They're the deviant sects of the Christians. The Catholics, the Catholiciyun, are the Sufiya of the Nasara. You would say that they are the what? They are the Sufi of the Christians. They say a lot of wicked, strange things. Very strange. At any rate, it's all everything mystical and things that's beyond your comprehension. Things that don't make any sense. But at any rate, so in this regard, before we move on, is it clear? Any questions? How much time I have left? طيب. What are the different types of shafa'at? You have shafa'at that are only exclusively for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you have shafa'at that are for the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and other than the Messenger of Allah alaihi salatu wasallam. Those shafa'at, I'll say it again, you have shafa'at amma, and you have shafa'at khassa. You have intercessions that are what? General. You have intercessions which are specific. When we say specific, meaning specific for the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. طيب, we'll start with the one that's specific for the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number one, the shafa'ah of the message of Allah will be for Ahl al-Mawqif, will be for the day or the commencement of the day of resurrection to actually start. You write this down, son. For the actual day of resurrection to start, to commence, so the accountability for everyone starts. Or for the day of resurrection to start. And that is what they call the shafa'atul uzma, the greatest intercession. يغبط فيها الأولين والآخرون. الأولون والآخرون. You'll find that those from the Anbiya who will have that ghibta, meaning that they will want to have that position. In which we know the hadith in which all the messengers will pass it off. And the messengers and the prophet, the messengers will pass it off, saying, I am not for that, go to so-and-so. I am not for that, go to so-and-so. Adam will pass it on to Nuh. Nuh will pass it on to who? Adam pass it off to Ibrahim. Ibrahim will also pass it off to Musa. Musa will pass it off to Isa. Isa will pass it off to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So that shafa'ah is only for the message of Allah. That shafa'ah is general for everyone. Everyone. Is it only for the Muslims and the kuffar? Or the kuffar? Or is it for both of them? Which one is it? Which one is it? Which one do we say? All of them. Everyone. It's general for everyone. Not for them to save them, but for what? So today the resurrection can now commence. So it can start. Because they will be in a state of what? Horror and fright, and be in a state of discomfort. Alhamdulillah. They will be in a state of discomfort. As we know that some people will have their sweat up to their ankles, some of them up to the top of their legs, some of them will also be drowning in their sweat. All of that due to what? To the evil acts, and depending on the actions that you did in this world is how you will be affected on the day of resurrection. Now, is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Your deeds affects, for number one, before your deeds is your belief system. Because that comes first. Then your deeds will be examined. But you have to pass the first test, which is what? Your belief system being intact first. Because that's examined first. طيب. So then we know that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ will say, Ana laha, I am for that what? Shafa'ah. Allah Ta'ala mentions about that in his book where he says, Subhanahu, Jalla fil ula, about the Maqam al-Mahmud. The Maqam al-Mahmud. That level of praise in which Allah Ta'ala will give the message of Allah ﷺ. That is mentioned in Surah Al-Isra. I can't remember the number, but I'll give it to everyone after class. Well, Allah Ta'ala says in this book, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا وَقُلْ رَبِّ أَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ الصِّدْقِ وَأَخْرِجْنِي مُدْخَلَ الصِّدْقِ وَاجْعَلْنِي مِنْ لَدُنْكَ سُلْطَانًا نَصِيرًا وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. Allahu Akbar. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, he says, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. That maybe perhaps your Lord will bring you on the day of resurrection of the Maqam al-Mahmud, which is what? The high level in which Allah Ta'ala will grant the message of Allah only. Is it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs a shafa'ah? La. The shafa'ah initially, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is to benefit the creation, not Allah. Allah Ta'ala لا تضره معصية العاصين ولا تنفعه طاعة الطاعين والمطيعين. As Allah Ta'ala, we know the aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah, that nothing harms Allah of the disobedience of those who disobey Him, and nothing benefits Allah of the obedience of those who obey Him. For verily their obedience is for their own benefit of the creation, and their disobedience is against them, meaning the creation. So ultimately, the shafa'ah is for the benefit of who? Of the creation. And Allah Ta'ala legislated it for what? For two reasons. Two. Number one is, write this down quickly, that it's just to raise the level of the status of the one who's interceding. To show and raise his level, and to show his status. Meaning the Prophet ﷺ. Allah wanted to show how high level of him on the day of resurrection. So he allowed him to be the intercessor in this way. So it's to raise the one's status. That's number one. Number two is to benefit the one who's being interceded for. It's to raise the level of the raise the level of the shafi', to raise the level of the one who's interceding, or the intercessor. To raise his level, to show his high status. And secondly, is to benefit the one who's being interceded for, meaning the one who needs it. It's only to his benefit. So it does not pertain to what, everyone? It's not pertaining to Allah Ta'ala. Allah does not have anything of need. And verily, the creation benefit from the shafa'ah. And that's something that Allah Ta'ala bestowed for the creation for their own benefit out of His infinite mercy. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So the first type of shafa'ah for the message of Allah is what they call a shafa'atul uzma. The greatest shafa'ah for the commencement of the day of resurrection for who, everyone? Ahl al-mawqif. They call it the people mawqif. The people who will be in a situation of a great level of discomfort and a great level, if you want to say, a certain type of punishment, until they are asked for relief And firstly, they go to all the different messengers until they come to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then that's when the day of resurrection will commence. The second type of shafa'ah for the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the shafa'ah for the door of paradise to open up. The door of paradise will open up for the Messenger of Allah, no one else. That hadith is in Sahih Muslim. That hadith has been authenticated in Sahih Muslim, where there will be a voice at the gate after everyone will cross, and the first one will be a cross over the hellfire, will be the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we know that is from the meaning of the hadith, that in this dunya we are the last, but on the day of resurrection we will be the what? The first. The Messenger of Allah said, when he crosses over the hellfire, the gates of paradise will say, for you are only been commanded to open for. You. That's what it says in the narration. You, Muhammad, is the only one I've been commanded to open for. And that's when the gates of paradise will what? Open. Is that in the book of Allah? Yes, it is. It's in the last ayat of Surah Zumar. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, وَجِيءَ بِالنَّبِيِّينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَقُضِيَ بَيْنَهُم بِالْحَقِّ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ وَوُفِّيَتْ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا عَمِلَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Now here it is. وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ زُمَرًا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا وقال لهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم رسل منكم يتلون عليكم آيات ربكم وينذرونكم لقاء يومكم هذا قالوا بلى ولكن حقت كلمة العذاب على الكافرين قيل ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها بئس مثوى المتكبرين. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Zumar, not the last page, the page before the last page. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says on the day of resurrection, He says, when the people now, because we know, just as paradise has gates, the hellfire likewise has what? Has gates. It says, so those who disbelieve, they will be brought to the hellfire. وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ زُمَرًا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا. He says the gates will be opened for them. May Allah protect us from that. He said that the gates of hell will be open for them automatically. فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا وَقَالَ لَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا. That the gatekeepers of hell will say to them, didn't the messengers come to you, reciting to you the ayats of your Lord and warning you of this day, of this right now? They will say yes. قَالُوا بَلَى. However, حَقَّتْ كَلِمَةُ الْعَذَابِ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. That the word of what? Punishment has gone forth on the disbelievers. قِيلَ دَخُلُوا أَبْوَابِ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. نَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ يَعْفِينَا وَإِيَّاكُمْ. He says, now enter in it, abiding therein forever. طيب. Now listen to the opposite part of the ayat. Listen to this one. Now listen to the last part. وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمَرًا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا. Listen to the key word. وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا وَقَالَ لَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ طِبْتُمْ فَادْخُلُوهَا خَالِدِينَ. وقالوا الحمد لله الذي صدقنا وعده وأورثنا الأرض نتبوأ من الجنة حيث نشاء فنعم أجر العاملين. Allah Ta'ala says, those who had taqwa, meaning the people of Tawheed, the people of Sunnah, people of Aqidah Salafiyah, people who did righteousness in this dunya. Listen to what it says. He says, when they will be brought to what? وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمَرًا. They'll be brought to paradise in what? Groups. Now listen to this part. حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا. Until when they come to it. وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا. So it tells you the Quran is, everything is in its right place. Even one letter will change the whole meaning up. And the gates will be what? Open. If you go back to the Tafsir Ibn Kathir. No, just listen. Ibn Kathir says Allah in this ayah, when he put and the door, in contrast to the gates of hell, he said they will be well open for them to enter it. He says when Allah mentioned in it and the gates will be open, meaning there's going to have to be a reason why it's to be open. Meaning that it is what? It goes back to the Messenger of Allah. That the reason why the gates is open because the Messenger of Allah came and was the reason why it opened. Not because in contrast to the hellfire, those who are the inhabitants of it, is it will be open for them automatically without any reason. But when Allah mentioned the ayah, وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا وَقَالَ لَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ طِبَةٌ فَادْخُلُوهَا خَالِدِينَ, that the reason why the gates of paradise will be open, because of the Messenger of Allah being the reason why it's open. That's the reason why the harf, wow, was mentioned in the ayah. Deep, isn't it? And if you go back to Sahih Muslim, it affirms that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu has that shafa'ah, which is only specifically for him, which is that the paradise will be open only for him until it will be called out when he comes to the gate, over as he passes over hell, and also passes over the qantara, because they say it's two parts. Some of them say it's connected. We'll talk about that later. The bridge, and then they have another bridge. They say there's two types. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. You have the bridge over hell, then you have the qantara. At any rate, once all that's done and settled, once you get to the gate will have to be open, because the Messenger of Allah sallallahu will what? He will knock on the gate, and the gate will say, for only you I've been commanded to open for. Which is to show you that, brothers and sisters, if you are found the millah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're on a correct path. Because the only way you'll enter paradise is from being from his followers. Gee. Tremendous benefit, isn't it? It's in there. Gee. طيب. You have now the third type of what? Intercession that's only for the Messenger of Allah. We'll stop here. And that's the intercession of the Prophet ﷺ for his uncle Abu Talib, who died in a state of kufr. But we know that his shafa'ah for him is not for him to enter paradise. His shafa'ah for him was only to lighten his punishment. May Allah preserve us. To lighten his punishment. Not for it to be what? Not for him to be taken out. And that shafa'ah was only for Abu Talib. That's it. No one, no else. And like we said, that intercession was only for him for what? For his punishment to be lightened. What's so scary about that narration, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is that the Messenger of Allah said, when I seen him, I thought he was the most severest of those being punished. And he was the lightest of those being punished. Is it clear what I'm saying? He said, when I seen him, I thought he was the most severest of those being punished. He said he was the lightest. Understand? Those shafa'at are specifically only for the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We'll talk about the other ones next class. We'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل يا جعفر.